So we're here at the North American Bridge Championships in Minneapolis. It's the summer 2026. But more importantly, why are we here, Barbara?
We are here actually at the beginning of the North American Championships at the American Bridge Teachers Association Convention, ABTA. And we have 50 teachers here in attendance, and then many of us are going to stay on for the North American Bridge Championships, which has games for players of all levels, novice, intermediate, advanced intermediates, and better players and experienced experts. Fun, fun, fun. 10 days of it.
So I'm super excited because it was my first opportunity to actually sit down with you and get to hear Barbara's background. And Barbara, I don't know if you've seen any of my stuff, but you were instrumental in my own bridge career.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, my husband introduced me to bridge, and like in 2004, and well before I ever found the ACBL. I didn't join the ACBL until 2009, but we got your 25 conventions, and we started doing one every time we were going to go and play a live
That's
tournament. I didn't take formal lessons, so I did it the hard way. But which I would recommend people should be taking formal lessons plus reading on their own, right?
I would.
Yeah, I mean, what?
Yes.
I mean, you are the master. How long have you been teaching bridge? Give me a little about your background and how that happened.
I've had 4 careers. My first and primary career was as a nurse, and I used to teach nursing. And when I retired from teaching nursing, my mother-in-law sent me for bridge lessons. She told me there were 2 things I had to do in order to become socially acceptable. One was to join the junior league, and the second was to take bridge lessons. So off I went for bridge lessons, and 4 months later I started working for the bridge club. Not because I was a natural at bridge, I was anything but I did marketing and I did all kinds of promotion for the bridge club. And then 2 years later I started teaching bridge. And then I became a licensed travel agent and teacher and author. So those have been my most fun careers. And the best one, though, my favorite, was as a bridge teacher, watching people develop and progress and become excited about this amazing, wonderful game that we all love.
How many years now have you been teaching bridge?
I've been teaching bridge now for 51 years, 50 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So, long time. I feel very old, and I'm still teaching.
And very blessed. I mean, bridge.
Very blessed, very
yes. blessed. And when did you write your first book?
In 1999, I wrote my first book called 25 Bridge Conventions You Should Know, one of the top 5 selling bridge books in the world. Lucky me. And my editor, Ray Lee of Master Point Press, his mother-in-law wanted to learn to be a better bridge player. So he came to me and asked me to write this book. And so we progressed from there.
Awesome. Have you done any new iterations of it? I know you have the 25 more. I own both of them. And then you have a new book here, right?
I do.
Okay, tell us about the new book.
I've written 39 bridge books.
Wow.
39.
Okay.
And so many of them have been written, co-authored with David Byrd, who's the most prolific bridge author ever. He's written about 190 bridge books, and we had never met, and it was really fun. Our ship docked in Southampton, and he lives near to Southampton in the UK, and so we went and had lunch with he and his lovely wife, and that was such a pleasure. Yes.
So a couple of things. For me, being a brand new bridge teacher, and I am sure there's going to be lots of other bridge teachers that will probably watch this video, what advice would you give somebody that's just starting out?
As a beginning bridge teacher, I think we have to talk less and play more. The students want to be playing with hands. So I would say a half-hour lecture, an interactive lecture, so that they've got cards on the table at all times, and then playing hands that illustrate the topic that you have just addressed, and then go over each hand with the cards all face out on the table and discuss them after they have had an opportunity to bid and play the hands. That would be my recommendation.
Okay. And then are you still teaching students
I am.
in person and online, or
Both. During COVID, we did a lot of fundraising for our Cambodia projects, because we have 5 schools in Cambodia that my
wow.
girlfriend Patty Lee and I have built, and we sustain, and we have many, many water projects, toilets and water towers for health centers in Cambodia. So during COVID, this was an amazing opportunity for online lessons to raise money for our projects. We raised thousands and thousands of dollars. We've now raised actually over $2 million for our schools in Cambodia.
wow? And how did that project come about?
It came about because we've been taking groups around the world for many, many years, 40 years as a matter of fact. And for the last 30 years, we had people take extra suitcases filled with erasers, pens, notepads, toothbrushes, toothpaste, and so on. This particular trip, we couldn't find any schools that we could take those kind of supplies to, because you're dealing with difficult governments all over the world. And so on this particular trip, we found out that we could donate bicycles to children of landmine victims. And so we donated 40 bicycles, and we went to the school and we said, well, yes, they need bicycles, but they sure as heck need a new school, because this school was just a very badly built bamboo structure that was going to fall down in the next high wind. And so we went home and resolved to raise money to build a school. And subsequently, we now have 5 schools that we have built and we sustain. We have 18 full-time employees, all Khmer or Cambodian, and libraries at every school.
So when you went there on a trip, was it a bridge trip?
It was a bridge trip. We played bridge on the ship
Okay.
and kept the cards there.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. There was some crazy stories out of like Thailand and stuff like that where, damn, it's the same situation, right?
They play a lot of bridge in Thailand.
They do.
They play
Okay.
a lot of duplicate organized bridge in
Okay.
Thailand. Yes, it's quite a different world and quite a different culture.
in Thailand than
Very
Cambodia.
much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
They are, for the most part, Cambodians are very, very self-effacing, very gentle, very quiet, very humble. I would have to say that Thailand is kind of the opposite. There's no offense to either side, but they are more aggressive.
So they're the New Yorkers.
They're the New Yorkers of Southeast Asia. That's a very good analogy. Okay, no offense to the New Yorkers.
And then the Cambodians are the
The gentle folk.
Okay.
The gentle, soft,
the Canadians.
sweet. Maybe so. The Canadians of North America. Okay, I like that. Very good.
Yeah, I don't know. I love, that's just the way my brain works, is to put all of those
That's
pieces
good.
together.
That's good. I like it.
So I am brand new. I just started
But
giving.
you're not a brand new player.
No, I've been playing now for 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And as you know, I play in the platinum pairs and the national events, and
That's
yeah.
fabulous. Good.
Yeah, and I would love.
It's just the most exciting card game. If you're watching and you're not a bridge player, please go to www.acbl.org and find the section called Find a Teacher or Find a Club, and go there and play. And if you're a party bridge player or a social bridge player, please don't stop there. Yes, you can continue playing bridge with your friends, but drag them off, kicking and screaming, to your local bridge club where they have novice and intermediate games. Try to only go to bridge clubs that have gentler games for you, so that you can start off at your own pace, at your own level, and have a very, very happy experience.